USC again loses a tight one. Kansas, oh no, and Sam Pittman. Yeah, this is the end at Arkansas.
You are Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin, your daily podcast on all things college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another reaction episode of Locked On College Football. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you all so much for making this your first listen or your first view post early morning college football viewing, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day and your daily source to stay up to date with the biggest stories in this, the greatest, craziest sport on planet Earth. A shakeup in the Big 12 we got to get to. Sam Pittman's time should be done at Arkansas as Notre Dame gets its second straight win. So much to get to on this show, which is brought to you by our friends at Mazda. Like the players of your favorite team, Mazda sweats every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. Groundhog's Day for USC. It can't feel good right now. It cannot feel good. You know, on my 5-point fan mood assessment scale, I only put bad vibes out there for USC. Not the worst. Season's not over. A lot of goals can still be accomplished this year. Jaden Mayava looks awesome. Makai Lemon is spectacular. He was unguardable. Illinois, if you had walked up to any of their defensive backs and said, I will give you $1,000, I'll give you $500,000, doesn't matter the amount of money, to cover Makai Lemon, they wouldn't have been able to do it. And yet, USC lost the game. And here's the disappointing thing if you're a Trojan fan. With Danton Lynn in his second year as defensive coordinator, these sorts of games were supposed to be a thing of the past. You weren't supposed to still be giving up 34 points in a big game. And when your offense executed situationally as it did time and time again, on a fourth down conversion, on the 2-point conversion, overcoming a 14-point deficit, those are the sorts of things that were sometimes there last year, but the offense left a little to be desired. Well, the defense had one opportunity to go out there and win you a football game. And once again, USC is looking up and they've lost a Big Ten conference game by single digits. And they lose it on a walk-off field goal at the buzzer. Incredibly gutsy performance for Illinois. They got embarrassed last week. And some people, I'll get to the Illini more in a moment, but just as a general note, some people wanted to look at Illinois and say they're not actually good. Indiana, we're not giving them a ton of credit for that win. Some people, me, said, no, Illinois is a good team. They had a really bad day, and they came back and showed you why they're a good team. Now, they need to stop fumbling inside the 10-yard line. Apparently, that's what this USC defense just does, though. But Luke Altmyer, 20 of 26, 328 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's really impressive stuff. Really impressive stuff from Illinois to come back after getting embarrassed last week. And in a gut check moment, down a point late, Luke Altmyer marches them right down the field, and they kick a game-winning field goal. We give credit to kickers here on the show. So, David Olano, how about it? How about it, David Olano? Game win. There was no overtime if you miss. We're either winning or losing with that kick, and he absolutely nails it. So, pretty tough spot for USC to be in right there. And look, early morning kickoff times on the road, when you're going a couple time zones away, it's been a struggle. It's been, as I'm recording this show right now, Ohio State just went down, was stopped on their opening drive. We'll see how they do. I think they're going to wind up winning that football game. But I picked Illinois to win this game over USC, and I was sweating this one for a while. Wasn't one of my best bets of the week because I did have that thought in the back of my mind. Boy, don't love what I saw from Illinois' defense, and frankly, I didn't love what I saw from Illinois' defense. But for USC, this has to be the height of frustration as a fan watching this game. You're starting to migrate after a strong start to the year against inferior competition. You had a chance to go make a statement win, top 25 win on the road, would have propelled you at least inside the top 20, maybe the top 15. And instead, you've got your first Big Ten conference loss of the year in just your second game. And it looks and feels the same that it did all of last season. They're not there yet, but they're starting to migrate into Nebraska territory with Scott Frost. And we saw Nebraska lose a one-possession game a couple of weeks ago. And a couple of weeks ago, when did they play Michigan? I don't know. You remember the game I'm talking about. And that had to be the same sort of feeling. So Nebraska and USC fans should get together and have like a giant group therapy session for what their teams have been unable to do situationally in one possession games over and over and over again. I mean, goodness gracious. Do you want to blame Lincoln Riley? Do you want to blame Danton Lynn? Blame whoever you want. The reality doesn't change for USC fans. The highest of vibes for Illinois fans here. Because the season that you thought you could have coming into this year is still attainable. You can still go 10-2, make the playoff. Yeah, you've got to go on the road to Washington. Yeah, you've got to play Ohio State at home. But guess what? You have completely reinvigorated the program in this particular moment. And yeah, the Indiana memory, it's not going away, but it's not as strong now when you win a game like this. Huge, huge win for the Illini in this spot. Luke Altmyer, talk about delivering. Man, what a big-time game. Illinois fumbled twice inside the 5-yard line and found a way to win this football game. Now, USC ran for just 126 yards. Thought they could have run the ball more, frankly, in this one, but they got behind, had to throw it, and Mekhi Lemon is unstoppable. That's the good news for USC fans in that particular spot. For Illinois, though, I tell you what, I am happy for the Illini. You get the highest on my 5-point scale of fan mood evaluation given the outcome of a win. I'm concerned about the defense. I am really concerned. Mekhi Lemon's a really good player. There was no answer anywhere at any point in time. The pressure on Jaden Mayava only showed up if you brought extra guys on the blitz. And for the first half of this game, I was worried about Illinois. They were winning, but I was worried about them because I felt like they were the second most physical team on the field. Last year when they won 10 games, speed isn't what defined them. It wasn't the calling card of their team. So when I watch them and at times they look a little slow, that doesn't concern me. What concerns me is Indiana out-physicaled them last week, and they shifted it a bit on the defensive side of the ball in the second half. They just don't look like they have that it factor, or they're not playing with the right level of intensity, or guys are sluggish. I don't know. I don't know what it is. They don't look as physical as I think I and a lot of others think they should be. But let's not get too drawn to the negative there. All right, I can't help myself. The situational defense, not good. They gave up a 3rd and 16, a 3rd and 21. They almost gave up one of the coolest trick plays I have literally ever seen from USC. I gotta give a little round of applause to Lincoln Riley. That is one of the coolest things I've ever seen, and an ineligible man downfield wiped it away. Wiped it away. But this Illinois defense, if they don't achieve their goals this year, the Illini are 4-1. They should be back inside the top 20 after this win. They have Purdue, Ohio State at Washington, then Rutgers, Maryland at Wisconsin Northwestern. Very manageable schedule. You keep yourself in control of your own playoff dreams by winning this particular game. It's huge because I think USC is a good team. I think they're going to wind up being a top 25 team by the end of the year. But for Illinois, the defense has to improve. It just does. I mean, they don't look right on that side of the ball. Whatever the problems may be, whatever the causes are, they've got to get that right. But in this particular moment, Illinois fans, what a win. That was a gutsy win. That was a culture win for Brett Bielema after what happened last week. That's really, really good stuff. The highest of vibes for Illinois fans here. So, more to get to. Kansas, yikes. Shakeup in the Big 12. Major shakeup in the Big 12. And we're going to have a shakeup on an SEC coaching staff later. First, this episode brought to you by our friends at Mazda. Mazda is moving the game forward for those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moves the game forward, it's got to be the game-winning field goal. David Alano. How often has David Alano's name been said on any program talking about college football across the country? You know how much intestinal fortitude it takes, how heady of a player you got to be, how calm your mind must be to step up in that moment with your team down a point, knowing if I miss, we lose, I make, we win. There's no other outcome. This is a black and white issue. There's no gray area. There's none of that. It is win or lose, and he drills it. Drills it, got it just inside the upright. That delivered a big win for Illinois in this spot. And when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. A shakeup in the Big 12. Kansas is a good team. And guess what? We might need to consider that Cincinnati is as well. The Jayhawks defense absolutely crumbled at home. There were over 1,000 total yards in this game. Jalen Daniels, you got to feel for the veteran quarterback. 19 of 28, 445 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He also ran for 55 yards, and he loses the football game. 37-34, Cincinnati shakes things up. They're 1-0 in the Big 12. And look, if Kansas had won this game, you would have looked at them and said, well, that's a team that could push for a Big 12 championship. And I wouldn't be disagreeing with you whatsoever, because I think Kansas is a good team without a very good defense. Cincinnati gets Iowa State at home next week, followed by UCF. And in the chaos in the Big 12, this is the sort of game that'll wind up keeping the Big 12 out of the college football playoff. Not for a second time. I mean, everyone, of course, is going to get one in, but not this game specifically, but this type of game. Now, Brennan Sorsby went for 388 and 2 scores on the road. I remember watching him in the first game that Cincinnati played this year against Nebraska and thinking, wow, he looks good. I mean, the arm looks lively. He runs well, throws it well. He's got some guys, and guess what? Turns out he's got some guys. They go for over 600 yards of offense in the game. 388 through the air, 215 on the ground. Cyrus Allen has 11 catches for 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. Talk about big-time performances. But Kansas now going forward, it's not that they aren't still a good team, that they won't have a good season. It's that when you are striving to be a Big 12 title contender, this is why Arizona State's Friday night win against TCU was so big. You want to go to the conference championship in this league, the reality is you can't have a loss until probably the middle of October. You're not going to go undefeated. I don't think there's a team. I know Texas Tech is really good. They're my preseason. Those are my Red Raiders out there. My preseason number 1 team, power ratings wise, in the Big 12. No one's going undefeated in this league. I just can't see it happening. So when you have these losses, it's part of what makes the league really fun right now. Is because when a team loses, well, all of a sudden you look up and go, oh, hey, they like had to win this game or else they weren't going to go to the Big 12 championship game. That's the reality. Because you not only lose a head-to-head with a team that could also be in contention down the line, but you've already got one loss and others just don't. And so I think in other conferences, it's a little bit different. You know, if Georgia Tech had lost today, I'll get to them in a moment, their chances of going to the ACC championship game, I think would have been far more realistic with one loss to Wake Forest than this loss for Kansas. Because the rest of the Jayhawks schedule goes something like this. And Jalen Daniels is playing great ball. You never know. They play at UCF, who could be a little better than I thought. We'll see. Texas Tech on the road. Kansas State, Oklahoma State, they haven't played well. At Arizona, at Iowa State, and Utah. Now, if Kansas plays well, they'll still probably lose 2 of those games. So unfortunately for the Jayhawks, they are out. My perhaps infamous preseason Big 12 championship game appearance pick from 2024 that, of course, missed a bowl game last year. I had the thought in the back of my mind, was I not wrong, but just early on Kansas last year because of this game? Unfortunately for them, I am not. I am not. Bad vibes for Kansas. I mean, just a horrifically bad defensive performance. At home, no less. Crowd was on fire. You had a 4th and 10 to win the football game. And yeah, guy makes an incredible one-handed catch. Why was he so open? You know they're throwing the football. Just not a good defensive showing whatsoever. So major letdown there for Kansas. But for Cincinnati, the highest of vibes. High vibes for Cincinnati. Hey, you want to know? Look pretty good. Offense is rolling. Now you look at that Nebraska game and you go, wow, we were within 3 points in what was basically a road game. It was a neutral site at Arrowhead Stadium, but basically a road game. And lost to a good Big Ten team by 3 points. Maybe Cincinnati's a surprise team in the Big 12. Don't know. Arizona State got it done. I picked them to win. They won against TCU. Quite the game. And once again, TCU, a team I really like, has now got a head-to-head loss with Arizona State that's finding ways to win. I don't know how sustainable this is for Arizona State. They have won 2 really tight games the last couple weeks, and they're playing okay. That's how they're playing okay. But they've now had 2 first halves, Mississippi State and TCU on Friday, where they just are not showing up, and then they wake up in the second half. That has to change. That has to change for Arizona State. But I want to get to Georgia Tech because they played in the morning window, and they escape. They escape 30-29. Haynes King. You ever hear the term winning football player, winning quarterback? Guy's a winner. Yeah, that's Haynes King. He's made Georgia Tech into a winner. He saves their hopes of being potentially an at-large college football playoff team one day. I don't think it's particularly strong. Here's what's most impressive about this game. And frankly, for Georgia Tech, I give this no vibes. No vibes for the fans. You should feel, okay, at least we won. That's what this game is. Almost an NFL-style game where you don't have rankings and perception doesn't matter, and it's, all right, we won. Get on to the next one. Georgia Tech comes out the gate and is losing by 3 possessions in the first half. And the good news is they found a way to win on the road, and they found a way to win in a game where Haynes King had to throw the ball 42 times. That is not the Georgia Tech way. They went for just 163 on the ground in this game. I'd give a higher fan mood assessment to Wake Forest. In fact, I do. I think it's good vibes for Wake Forest. You know why? You just played a good team, and in your new head coach's first year showed, hey, we could have something. That was a good performance. It wasn't great. It wasn't perfect. Robbie Ashford, a quarterback's under 50% completion. That has to change. But you know what? We had a 20-3 lead at home. It stinks. We couldn't get it done. But for Georgia Tech, they came back and they had to throw the football. They had to throw the football. They had to be good situationally. I think one of the biggest hallmarks of well-coached football teams, they're good situationally. And Georgia Tech is just that. They are. 7 of 16 on third down in this game. 0 of 2 on fourth down. Spencer, how could you say they're good situationally? Because when they had to have a stop on defense to get it back to their offense, they got it. And when they had to move the ball down the field in the air, they did. When they had to make a field goal for the second time in the last few weeks that leads to them winning a conference game on the road, they did. And Georgia Tech is a good situational football team. So I commend Wake Forest and head coach Jake Dickert for the performance they put on here. But this is an important win for, frankly, the ACC. If they want to get 2 teams in, because now that Florida State lost, you might be looking at 1-bid leagues in the ACC and the Big 12. At least one of them is going to be. I suspect the Big 12 will be again, but the ACC feels like it's teetering. Now, Georgia Tech is 5-0. Good football team. Are they a great football team? Time is going to tell. What a football game. What an early window. You had an overtime game. Friday night was electric. You had the game-winning field goal in Illinois. Just really, really good stuff today. But for Georgia Tech in this spot, they had to throw the ball, and they showed they did enough. They did enough. They can do enough. That's always the biggest question with their offense. I think the run game will have a bounce-back performance next time they take the field. Georgia Tech takes on Virginia Tech next. Yeah, not really worried about the upset potential there. Goodness gracious. Coaching change in Fayetteville, Arkansas is, wait for it, required. First, this episode brought to you by our friends at DoorDash. The weekend's here. It's time to crown the MVP of these early morning games. And yes, I shouted out the Illinois kicker earlier, but can we talk about Luke Altmyer as well? This is powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down and start with Luke Altmyer. We won't end there, though, because Brennan Sorsby deserves a shout-out as well. But Luke Altmyer in this game, 5 carries for 28 yards and a touchdown, 328 through the air with 2 scores on 20 of 26 passing. This has been a good USC defense, and Luke Altmyer carved him up. Absolutely carved him up. He was picking on one particular player. Braylon Conley had a rough game for the Trojans in the defensive secondary, but Luke Altmyer was taking advantage. And on the other side, Brennan Sorsby had a 4th and 10, was all the way down in his own side of the field on the road in the Big 12 opener against Kansas and comes back to win. A dream crusher. absolute dream crusher there for the Jayhawks, but what a win for the Bearcats and Scott Satterfield. Those guys delivered for their teams like DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash streaks. You save every time you order on Saturday. Stack it up all season. You could save up to $250 and $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day. Only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. This episode also brought to you by our friends at 5 Hour Energy. Caffeine got an upgrade. It's tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce 5 Hour Energy shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with zero sugar and zero crashes. What you'll love most is about how portable they are. You could take them to a football game this year. If it's early in the morning and you're not used to kicking off at 9 a.m. body clock time, USC, maybe you should have taken 5 Hour Energy shot. You might have had the extra juice needed on defense to win the football game. It's big taste in a tiny shot, and you get the energy you need to go throughout the day. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. Time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love or be bold and try something new in store and online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. Check them out at 5hourenergy.com. Notre Dame has won 2 games in a row. You know what? Good for Notre Dame. Their record is starting to reflect the caliber of team they are. And a lot of people objected, understandably so, to the Irish being an 0-2 football team and being ranked inside the top 25, to which an AP voter, if he or she were defending their vote, would probably say, well, it's 2 teams that we've got ranked inside the top 10 and they lost by 3 points both times. Well, fair argument. And so Notre Dame looks like a team that's poised to go on a run here. They have to, and it might not be enough to get them into the playoff. USC losing today, bad outcome for Notre Dame. Bad outcome. You needed USC by the time they come to town later this season. That game is played on October 18th. USC could still be ranked at that time. I suspect they will, but you would have liked them to be a top 10 team. You need a big-time resume boost because there are just no other opportunities for Notre Dame to really have a great win. Here's the rest of their schedule. And again, I'll give Notre Dame a good vibes. This is not a high vibes sort of game, but it's a good vibes. Why? Because CJ Carr continues to look like that guy. From the moment he made a mistake at Miami, and that's going to happen when you start a young quarterback, but going forward, CJ Carr is going to be the quarterback at Notre Dame so long as he's healthy, and that's great news for Irish fans. He's a significantly better passer than Riley Leonard. Significantly. And Riley Leonard had you in the national championship game last year. This was a much better defensive performance for Notre Dame. I had a question about that on the show earlier this week, and yeah, I thought Marcus Freeman might be able to get those sorts of things right. He did in this game. This is an explosive Arkansas offense that you're playing on the road. You held them to 13 points. Yes, they have a head coach who's not going to be the head coach there much longer, but you still went out and had a performance that you at least have to be able to describe, if you're being fair, as progress. That is a step forward. I'm going to say Sam Pittman needs to not be the Arkansas coach anymore. I am not going to say that the offense isn't great, because it is. The defense for Arkansas, abysmal. The number of wide open guys against this Arkansas defense is really bad. And I've heard that Bobby Petrino, the offensive coordinator, wants to be the head coach if and when they move on from Sam Pittman. I don't know if that's the right move. I don't know who he's hiring as his defensive coordinator. It better be somebody that is top 10 in the sport, or some top 20 in the sport, probably at Arkansas's more reasonable expectation. I mean, it's not just that they're giving up a bunch of points, it's that it looks horrible. There are so many open guys all over the place, but CJ Carr is really good. Anyway, bring this back to Notre Dame. Final thought before I get to Arkansas. They have scored 56, 40, and 24 points this year. And yet Notre Dame is 2-2. Sometimes defense takes a little adjustment when you lose a couple guys in the NFL. Their schedule the rest of the year: Boise State, unranked. NC State, unranked. USC, ranked, but won't be any better than top 20, if that, at the time. Boston College, they're playing Cal as I record this show. Navy. Pitt lost to Louisville today, despite having a lead. Louisville came back, Louisville might be the worst 4-0 team in all of college football. Syracuse was blasted by Duke earlier today, and at Stanford, we know what the situation is there. There are just no quality wins. I mean, there is an outrageous... Now, this is a crazy sport, and I often say that help is often given in college football to those who hold their own. That's what Notre Dame is going to look to do. We saw them rattle off 13 straight wins, including the playoff run a season ago. We know Marcus Freeman is capable, and a lot of the guys that are in that program. There would be a lot of help required. A lot of help required for Notre Dame to get in the playoff at 10-2. I just don't see the wins. I do not, and I bet you Marcus Freeman is saying to himself, man, why couldn't we have scheduled Navy week 2 in between Miami and Texas A&M? Or why couldn't we have gotten a stop on 4th and goal from beyond the 10-yard line? Those are things Notre Dame fans are going to ask themselves throughout the rest of the season. Arkansas is going to ask themselves, how should we thank Sam Pittman for his service? Sam Pittman, awesome guy. Sam Pittman has done some decent things as Arkansas's coach. Nothing spectacular, though. It's 3 straight losses. It's not going to get any better. They lost to Ole Miss by 6. They lost to Memphis, fumbling the ball late. They give up 56 points. Here, against Power 4 opponents, Power 4, or I'm going to count Memphis as a Power 4 for a moment because they could compete in the Big 12 or ACC. They'd at least be good. Ole Miss, 41. Memphis, 32. Notre Dame, 56. Yep, this is what it looks like in the moments right before. You ever see those memes online, photos that preceded unfortunate events? You could screenshot the last 3 defensive performances for Sam Pittman's team and say that preceded him being relieved of his duties as Arkansas's head coach. They have to go at Tennessee, play Texas A&M, Auburn, Mississippi State, LSU, Texas, Missouri. LSU and Texas are on the road, so is Tennessee. This isn't going to get better. I understood why they gave him another season this year. You had Taylon Green, who's really good and has been incredibly productive. You can't. This is not acceptable anymore. There's nothing. Well, I shouldn't say nothing. You can hold on to the offense, but from a coaching standpoint, like I was talking about earlier, well-coached teams are good situationally, win close games and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, Arkansas doesn't do any of that. They have a really good offense. That's it. Remember, Arkansas lost to Oklahoma State last year. Sam Pittman and Mike Gundy should have the same status as head coach of the program that they were coaching in that particular game. I expect it'll be soon. I don't harbor ill will towards Sam Pittman. Seems like a good guy, but this is not good enough anymore. It's time to start the coaching search in Fayetteville. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time, and until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.